Initiating Movieboys podcast. Still loading. Tempest and Ryan are on their way. Welcome. Please enjoy the show.
All right, we are back with another episode of Movieboys. I am Ryan, and I am here with my co-host, Tempest.
Aloha.
And we are going to be talking about Tucker and Dale versus Evil. I'll give a quick little synopsis, and then we can get into it. West Virginian hillbillies, Tucker and Dale, are on a vacation at their dilapidated mountain cabin when they are mistaken for murderers by a group of preppy college students. It's been a while since I've seen it. I think I literally saw it for the first time back in 2010. It was a parody movie that I remember enjoying when I was younger, and I thought it would kind of be fun to revisit for the show, since I don't know about you, but I know that there are plenty of movies that I love, like growing up or when I'm younger, and then I watch them when I'm a little bit older, and I maybe don't feel the same way, or maybe I do. I don't know. Have to see. So how did you feel about this?
Okay, so I had not seen this movie before. I also hadn't heard of this movie at all, and for a second I thought you were talking about there's a movie called like John Tucker Must Die, and I think I was thinking it was that movie, which thank God it's not, because that movie's bad. And this movie was so good, and I loved it so much, and I'm so glad that you suggested it.
I'm so glad. I'm not gonna lie. Before we started the review, I had no idea how you felt about it, because I do think it's kind of more fun to go in completely cold when we don't know each other's opinions. And there was part of me that I was like, damn, I'm a little bit worried you're not going to like this, because I fucking love this movie. Like, not only does it hold up for me, I think I love it even more now than I did back then. It's such a, I mean, I guess we can get into like the plot a little bit, but just even from the opening of the movie, where it starts off from the perspective of like a normal slasher movie, where you start off with these like really annoying college kids going into this middle of nowhere hick town in West Virginia, and just seeing these two kind of seemingly weird like hillbilly guys, and it seems like they're following them around. And they play it up so well in the beginning that if you put this on and don't know what it is, you might think that it's just like, oh, is this just like a shitty slasher
Deliverance
movie? Because is it Deliverance? I think there's other like slasher movies that follow this sort of same
Cabin
template.
in the Woods.
Yeah, it's the classic cheesy template. But what's so great about this is it immediately cuts to the hillbilly guys' perspectives, and they're just genuinely like sweet, like nice, like well-meaning guys.
They're just dudes.
They're just bros, and they're good friends, and they love each other, and it's just this long, like, cartoonish, and I say cartoonish in like the best way, cartoonish like series of misunderstandings that lead these college kids to thinking that they're killing them. And I guess I don't want to, I just want to say right up front, we will be getting into spoilers, but I think we both said that we really like this. So if you haven't seen this, I would go watch it and then maybe come back, because it's that time of year, and I feel like this is definitely worth watching.
It's been so long since I've watched a movie and haven't felt like nitpicky about it afterwards. Like, I can't think of anything that I would change or do differently. Like, I love the whole thing. It was great. The only thing, I guess I wish it was longer, because I was just enjoying it so much, and I was like, it's only like, what is it, like an hour and 45 minutes or something? I
think it's even shorter than that. I feel like it's like I feel like it barely hits 90 minutes. I agree. This could have gone on for longer.
One of my favorite tropes is the miscommunication trope. I pretty much always like it whenever it's in a movie. So, and the whole movie is just an extended miscommunication between the two parties.
Yeah, and that leads to just so many like really, really funny but dark like moments where these college kids are just killing, like as I think Dale or Tucker or Dale yell, like they're just, these college kids are just, they're killing themselves around us, like they're and they really are, and they really are like they're like jumping into, like that guy who jumped into the wood chipper, I was like, Jesus Christ, like that's like once you see the wood chipper, and I remembered since I'd seen this already, but once it shows that wood chipper, you're like, all right, I got a feeling where I think I know where this is going. And that, oh my God, I think that's probably one of the things going into this that I definitely remembered, and I knew it was coming up, and I was like, holy shit.
When the guy I think he was trying to like tackle him, but he moves out of the way, so then he like goes into the wood chipper, and then like Tucker, I guess he's like trying to save him or whatever, and he's like clearly dead because the first front of his body is mulched, and Tucker's just like, are you okay? Like,
there's so many little good there's so many good little lines like that, and that's just, I don't know. There's so many moments that like just the wood chipper thing in general is funny, and then you have that line that comes right afterwards. And I feel like I don't know, just watching it again, I was so impressed with just how tight the script is.
Yeah, there's a setup and a payoff to everything. Like in the beginning, when they set up that the Chad guy has asthma, and then like they bring up like how they're able to like beat him at the end with the chamomile tea, and like is it Dale who like has the really good memory, so he's able to like remember everything, and he remembers that like chamomile tea causes like a allergic reaction, asthma reaction. Like everything's just set up really well.
And that's I watching this again, I was thinking like, it honestly reminds me, and I think I don't remember what Edgar Wright movie had just come out. I think maybe it was Hot Fuzz that came out like a couple years before. This is like, and I say this in like the most glowing way possible. I think it feels like an Edgar Wright movie in a way, in all the best ways possible, because like just like in Hot Fuzz and like Shaun of the Dead, which are both like really good like buddy team up kind of genre movies. This has that like same exact vibe to it, and it has that same exact like setup and payoff. Like once they go into their Dale's vacation home for the first time, they notice that there's this like hanging, like terrifying hanging board with like nails in it. And yes. Even that like pays off in like a really, and like, I don't know, it's fun to be able to kind of just once the payoffs start happening, it's fun to start following along and thinking like, oh shit, what else did I see earlier? Like what other weird thing is going to pay off? Even the Allison, who could have been just a completely worthless damsel in distress type of character, but I feel like had a little bit more to her. Like I liked that she was a psychologist, and she immediately like sort of explains the conceit of the plot in like kind of a meta way, but also in a way that made sense for her character. Just saying like, so many problems in the world are just it's just because of miscommunication. And even the scene at the end, I love when I don't know if I've seen like a horror movie or anything where a character literally brings the protagonist and the antagonist together and is like, you guys should just talk this out. It's fine. Like, why can't we just communicate? Like, I just, oh man, I could just keep going on and on. I feel like there's just so much to like about this movie.
I don't particularly like the trope of like psycho hillbilly killers. I just don't, it just kind of seems kind of lazy and like classist, I guess, in a way, to be like, oh, here's like these crazy poor hicks and they're going to kill you because that's what they do. I don't know. I've never really liked it. I like that they obviously like the whole point is like subverting that trope, but I don't like the hillbilly trope. So it was nice that it wasn't like that. Although there kind of was still a bit of that hillbilly trope at the end, because you find out that the college guy, his dad was a rapist hillbilly who raped his mom. So
yeah,
that kind of came out of nowhere at the end.
That whole, I don't know. There were definitely a couple bits at the end where I was like, okay, yeah, that really. I don't know if you needed to explain some of these things, but it's fine. Like everything preceding it is just so fun and entertaining that I was just kind of like hand wavy about some of it. And yeah, like I loved subverting that. It's not only great because it subverts the trope, but because, and I think this is like another reason why I'd compare it to Edgar Wright's movies, is because not only is it just kind of a good like parody of a different genre, like this is a good parody, like Shaun of the Dead's a good parody of like zombie movies, Hot Fuzz is like buddy cop movies, and this is like obviously like slasher type of these type of horror like slasher movies. But what works so well about Edgar Wright's movies and this movie, I felt, was that they genuinely make you like the main characters, and they're not just like, there are like some of the college kids are definitely caricatures, but there are enough of them that like Allison and honestly Chad that are like kind of fleshed out more, and you see more of who they are. And again, like Dale, like just they do so many things early on to make you like him and make him so endearing, and just that the actor, Tyler Labine, is just so fucking good. I just really loved him, and I thought that he was just so endearing, even from that first scene where he's trying to talk to Allison and he's just like holding that scythe and just kind of awkwardly laughing. Like he's I don't know, he's just so likable.
When that happened, I literally like burst out laughing, and I was like, oh my god, this movie's gonna be great. Like there was just that moment of like Like we've all been there where you're just really fucking awkward in front of someone. Also, in the very beginning, I was like, oh, he's actually like, I like him. Like, I hope he gets together with Allison, or like I ship them pretty early on, and I like that they were together at the end. Which usually I hate shit like that, but I don't know. I felt like they had a believable enough romance, I guess, for like what happened throughout the story. Like they kind of bonded a bit, so.
And that also really surprised me that they made that work. I kind of felt, I usually feel the same way in movies. It's like, would these two people actually give a shit about each other just because of this experience? And yeah, like they actually genuinely have really good chemistry together. And it's, I don't know, it's from the beginning, it's kind of hard. I guess it's hard to believe it'll end up in that place, but just all those scenes they have together in the cabin are actually really sweet. And you kind of, yeah, you kind of ship them, you kind of root for them as it goes along, even if you don't expect to from the beginning, you know?
Especially when they're like digging the porta potty trench outside, and she's like, I grew up on a farm, I've done this before, and it was kind of like, oh, like they have stuff in common.
Yeah,
it was like so corny.
It does, but it's like, again, you could have easily made, I don't know, made a version of this movie. And I think we talk about this a lot with different movies, and I think it's important to point out. I think that there's like a version of this movie that is like way more caricaturized, and you could have a similar plot and a similar like kind of a bait and switch sort of conceit to what's going on, and like the misunderstanding, but also just paint like Tucker and Dale in a way with a way broader brush, and have them be just, again, just like way more generic, like hillbilly type of like stupid characters, like just wacky characters. And they are wacky and stupid in some ways, but they're just so likable and endearing. And that last speech between when Tucker gets hurt and Dale has to go save Allison at the very end is actually like really, really sweet, and like works as like a little heartfelt moment at the end between them, when he talks about how much he appreciates him as a friend and how much he believes in him. And it's like, wow, I did not expect, and again, it's been a while since I've seen this, but I guess that's what surprised me even more watching it again. I was like, not only is this really funny, is it actually the little character moments and stuff like that works like way better than you'd think it would for a movie that's called Tucker and Dale versus Evil, and like looks like I don't know, it kind of has the vibe of the, like if you look at the cover and everything, you see it like at Best Buy or something of just like a corny
shitty movie.
And yeah, just a shitty like 2010s, early 2000s, whatever, like slasher movie. But it really is a lot more than that, and I'm glad. I don't know, I'm definitely glad that I revisited it for that reason.
I feel like this was what Tire wanted to be, or Rubber. I feel like this is what Rubber wanted to be.
I could definitely. I was thinking about that. And yeah, Rubber is definitely like it's definitely in that same sort of boat of like genre parody, except for Rubber is just like, we don't care about anything mattering and nothing fucking matters, which I appreciate. I kind of appreciate in its own right, but I definitely don't like anywhere near as much as this, for sure.
Oh, I didn't realize Alan Tudyk was Tucker in this, and I he's one of my like. Do you have like a list of actors or actresses when you see them and you're like, oh, I'll watch it, like if they're in it? Like he's on my list of, if he's in it, I'd watch it kind of thing. But it was fun seeing him show up, and I didn't realize he was going to be in this in the beginning. Yeah,
and he plays, I don't know, he plays such a good. It is kind of like a straight man in a way, I guess, because Dale is a little bit goofier and is always kind of like on his back foot and doesn't quite like know what he's doing. But yeah, he just does an amazing job in this, and just brings, I don't know, I feel like he always brings a level of like gravitas to like anything that he does, even if it's like what could have been just like a throwaway B slasher movie. I don't know, he really brings it. I also really, really liked the actor who played Chad, just for the he goes like so fucking over the top as it goes along. And I honestly think that I didn't catch this when I was younger, but it was like, this was a couple years after The Dark Knight, and I feel like he was definitely, once he got the facial scars, I feel like he was definitely channeling Heath Ledger's Joker, at least a little bit. It's like toward the end, and it was so cartoonish. Like he literally has. You
mean Two-Face?
Yeah. I feel like almost a little bit of both. Like he was kind of he was kind of going into this type of voice, and I don't know. It was just it. I thought that he was clearly having a lot of fun with it, and I just I don't know. I enjoyed just seeing that Chad transformation. Like, and this was kind of, I mean, this is 2010. This is before like the jock like Chad meme even kind of became as much of a thing.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. That is kind of interesting. Well, I mean, like the whole reason why like Chad became that meme is because I feel like the name Chad is always associated with those types of people anyway. So it just kind of, you know, spawned from that.
Yeah, and oh my god, the climax of this movie is also very fun, with him with Dale essentially trying to become the caricature of like the evil hillbilly by like dressing up and all and like wearing the I don't know what is it, the blowtorch mask? I don't know how to
the welding
mask. And like with it, like going in with a chainsaw and like trying to like adapt that, like just sort of adopt that like evil persona just to go fight Chad. And then Allison sees him and he's immediately like, "Oh, I'm sorry. It's just me. Yeah. I wasn't trying to scare you." It's so good.
I'm just trying to look intimidating. Does it work? Yeah, it works.
It's so good. And I don't know. I even appreciate it almost felt, it really did feel like a Batman villain moment. Like the whole like ending scene with him putting out like tying up Allison, putting her on like a log cutter and him having to like fight him and save her. It's just it's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it's almost like the old James Bond movies where there'd be like the laser, they'd be tied to something and it's slowly gonna kill them.
Oh my god, yeah! Even the new one of the new James Bond movies even did that, which was they did it like kind of unironically though, which is weird. But do you remember that? Which one was it? Was it Spectre? No,
I don't remember. It's been a while.
One with Christoph Waltz did it, where they had a laser beam slowly going toward his face, and it was like, huh, you guys are doing this?
Oh, okay, yeah. Is it where he's like in the dentist chair or whatever the fuck it was? Yeah. Yeah, that was weird.
It was like, have you guys seen any parodies of James Bond? Like it's kind of a lot to do this in like 20 whatever. Like I don't know. Again, yeah, I was surprised at how much like so much of it held up, because I think there's always that fear. I think I sort of said this a little bit in the beginning, but I think there's always that fear of going back to a movie that you used to really love and going like, this doesn't quite hold up. And I was also worried that there was gonna be like I don't know, like weird like sexist or like racist shit, like going back and going like, oh shit, I didn't even think about that at the time. But I don't really think there was much of it.
Not really. I mean, I guess you could say like the black characters that were in this weren't really, they're just kind of like stock characters. Like they're almost not even characters. They're just like something to keep the plot moving.
Yeah, they're
you know what I mean with like but you can say that with all the other college kids too. Like none of them really have personalities except for Allison and Chad.
Yeah, no, that's actually true. Yeah, they're really just kind of just thrown in with the stock college characters for sure.
My favorite, I think my favorite part of the movie was when he's like cutting that log with the chainsaw, and there's like a beehive or like a wasp nest or something like in the log, and he cuts through it, and then he like freaks out. And he's like running with the chainsaw, and then there's bees like attacking his face, and he's running after the other guy, and the guy thinks he's getting chased. It was just perfect. Like it's the perfect series of misunderstandings that just they all work together so well.
Yeah, and it culminates just that whole scene with the cop that it culminates in is just so funny. I think I mentioned it briefly earlier, but just them going like, I don't know what's happening. They're like holding, they're like, well, the beam, and then before that, they're just like holding like the lower half of a man, and the cop's like, hey, what's up? Basically, and they're like, oh, all of these kids are killing themselves around us, and it's just like, obviously looks like the worst situation for them to be in the world. Like I don't know. It's just and also I feel like the effects and the kills are pretty gruesome. Honestly, they look fairly practical to me. But even if they weren't, like I think that I really think for like a movie that came out like over a decade ago, the effects still really held up pretty well too.
The only thing that really dates this movie for me is the fashion of the college kids. Like I can definitely tell it's like 2010s, you know, like but other than like that, it was it's fine. Like the rest of the movie, like you know what I mean? Like this could be made today and like the exact same, you know, everything would hold up the same.
Yeah, even Allison's character, she just had a very like when you first see her is very like like I don't know. There I feel like there were a lot of actresses at that time that had that kind of like Paris Hilton type of look to them. But I again I love that they sort of subvert what you think that her character is going to be, and she's actually just like a really seems like a really smart, like driven person. The running bit with her, like just that she keeps like falling down and like knocking herself out basically, which sounds like it could be, I don't know, that whole thing. And then at the very end when he basically gets her a helmet so it doesn't happen. That was something that I almost wonder if someone added in a rewrite or something, that they were like, she keeps falling down and passing out. We should like acknowledge this with a joke or something. And I just think it's just a cute little moment at the end that works really well, because she really does knock herself out quite a bit. I think it's at least three times.
Yeah, like especially with the shovel to the head.
Yeah.
Like she definitely has a concussion by the end of this movie.
Yeah, she's gonna have to get checked out for CTE later in life, unfortunately.
Poor girl. Oh man, I hope no one is like, that's why she ended up with Dale at the end, because she got hit in the head so many times and she has brain damage. Like that would be mean.
I didn't even think that. You said it. You're the one. You're the one who said it.
You know, you would look at this movie and be like, he's like not as conventionally as attractive as she is, and I don't know. I feel like it doesn't even matter. Like I could still picture them as a couple.
See, and that was another thing. Like I usually this sort of thing in movies where you might, I don't know. A lot of people complain about this in movies, which in a lot of cases I kind of understand, where you see like the schlubbiest looking dude with like someone who seems like out of their league, which again, that stuff's all subjective, but I feel like they usually never sell it in a realistic way. And in this movie, I bought it, and I don't know. I've seen couples that look like very, very different, and when you see them together, it might surprise you, but they get along really, really well. And it's, you know, and again, that stuff is all subjective.
Yeah.
And I also don't think he's like a bad looking dude either.
Oh no, he's not ugly. I think even Tucker in the beginning, he's like, "You're a good enough looking guy." Like they say that as a joke. So he's not like hideous.
Yeah, and in that final speech to Dale, he's just like, "And you're not even that ugly." Like there's a lot of like that's again that speech is so great because it's like really heartfelt, and then you have these little like jabs that are like unintentional. Like he's trying to still be nice, but he just doesn't really know how to. I don't know. It's great.
I like how he's also like, he's an awkward nice guy, but he's not an asshole whatsoever. Like he's just genuinely awkward, but also like a sweet guy. Because sometimes you see that in movies where like the guy's nice, but then he's like a fucking cunt in other respects. But I don't know. You kind of get the sense that he's, you know, what you see is what you get with him.
Yeah, again, in like a lesser movie, you could see this being played as like a really cringy, like the nice guy doesn't get what he wants, but it just really comes off naturally. I don't know. Like when he gets her, he gets her eggs and bacon with like dying flowers after she says she doesn't want the pancakes after he rescues her, and she's like, I don't know. There's just a lot of little sweet moments that I think in a lesser movie could have been just handled in a really, really like kind of unbelievable way, but they really pull it off.
Oh, even like when she's on the fucking rock and she's like taking off her clothes to go skinny dipping or whatever, and he's like to like Tucker, like, don't look at her, like she's changing, blah blah blah. And it's like, that's so sweet that you're like, you know, being like thinking about her and like how she would feel in this situation, not just like leering at her. I feel like a lesser person who's writing this, who like is not really caring enough about like making sure he's like a good guy, would just have him also leering at her. Does that make sense?
He yells at Tucker afterwards, and he's just like, "You're being a peeping Tom. It's weird. You shouldn't do that." Yeah, they didn't have to do that, but I think that's kind of what elevates the movie and makes it feel less like a cheap horror movie. These characters feel fleshed out and a little bit more like they surprise you. That's a part of the whole like conceit of this movie too, which is that you have very specific expectations for them. Even knowing that they're not like crazy murderers, you still think like, they might, you know, they might like leer at her or whatever, or like do some other weird things, but they're really just regular dudes who wanted a vacation home. And then they, as Tucker said, he saved up all of his money to get it.
I fucking love that it's just like two guys and they're like, we're gonna buy a cabin out in the woods, and they're so fucking excited when they get there, and they're like, it just needs a little bit of paint, and it's like like the most like creepy shithole like murder cabin ever, but they're so excited to be there, and I love their enthusiasm.
It's great. And yeah, like all the newspaper clippings on the wall too that are like local person murdered, and all that stuff is that those little things are cool too, because they also play into the ending a little bit and kind of hint at it, which is awesome.
The Memorial Day murderers or whatever.
Yeah, which is great. Like there's just way more attention to detail than you'd expect, and I wouldn't be surprised if this director is a big Edgar Wright fan, because it kind of, and not the, and in turn for the Edgar Wright thing, not like the editing or like the way that it's shot or anything. It's just I guess I just mean the vibe and just the writing, because it definitely doesn't have like, he usually has like a much quicker like editing style, and like this is definitely a little more lower budget than his usual stuff, but it's still, I feel like they make do with it.
Oh, I was going to ask you. So one thing that I used to do a lot when I was a kid was stay at like very creepy cabins for vacations. Did you ever do that?
Honestly, no.
Never?
No, I'd say like the only cabin vacations I've had in my entire life are, I guess, were from like college on, which is very stereotypical. But yeah, I never did it when I was a lot younger.
I remember one summer I spent like a week at my friend's cabin, and she had like 3 other brothers and sisters, and then her parents were also there, and then a bunch of other kids were there too, and there was only 2 bedrooms, so we were sleeping out on the porch on like floaties, like air mattress. I know, like, it sounds horrible in like retrospect. Also, like, there wasn't really a shower, so we just had to bathe in the lake that the cabin was on. Obviously not something I would want to do as an adult, but as a child, like looking back, it was fun in the moment.
Yeah.
But the cabin was very creepy. The one I stayed at, it not like creepy in the sense that there's murder newspaper clippings on the walls, but you know what I mean? Yeah. Just like creepy old cabin. Yeah. And it kind of reminded me of the movie One.
That's honestly kind of horrifying. I feel like all the times I've stayed in cabins there, I don't know, they're not like that remote, and they're usually not bougie, but just pretty normal, like just place out in the middle of the woods. I don't know. Looking
back, like, I don't think her parents were like neglectful in like a child abuse kind of way, but they were kind of letting us, you know, it was a bit of a Lord of the Flies situation with the kids.
Yeah, I feel like my parents, when I was that young, were the opposite. It was like, I don't know. I was a homebody for the most part. I was staying in and playing lots of World of Warcraft and watching lots of movies.
I think I would have been like 12 years old when I did this. So at the cabin the week I'm talking about. Anyway, you know, we kind of stopped talking about the movies. Maybe we should wrap this up. Watch the movie. I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, this is amazing. I really love it. I'm glad that you liked it, and I'm glad that we were able to revisit it, because I think that it's a perfect movie to watch in October, and you should check it out.
Great spooky season movie.
And I will say, as someone who lives in Virginia, I can't speak to what West Virginia is like and what people from West Virginia are like, but I would imagine they might be the spooky hillbilly caricature. I don't know. I know as a Virginian, I'm supposed to hate people from West Virginia. That's kind of just the thing. I don't know.
I feel like you're being incredibly bigoted right now, and I think you should reflect on this.
Okay, I'm actually gonna go. I'm gonna go reflect right now. I'm deeply sorry for my actions. I'll pin an apology.